interact here first. Tell me when you're ready.
We're rolling.
Okay. First, let me thank all of you for coming, and there'll be more coming in as as I go along. And I want to thank you all also for bringing my phone off the hook in the hotel room during the Shiva. I thank you very much. There's only one problem with that. Okay, that the cord of the phone wasn't long enough to get to the Shiva seat. And the phone was by twin beds, and so I had to get on the bed in order to talk to people. But thank you nonetheless. It was an unusual Shiva in that I was in Florida. I was in my hotel room, and except for my aunt and uncle, there were no visitors. Okay, and I went up the street, up the road to the Chabad Shul to daven, and so it was a little unusual in that way compared with the multitude of when people pass away and the kids are for the leviya and whatever and Shiva. So, and I want to thank Moshe and Marla Braun, who are not here at the moment, for driving me tonight with these poster boards. They were in Florida last year, and they went to visit my dad, and you really got a kick out of them. Moshe has kind of a long beard, and my dad got a kick out of it. And Ido, who's not here at the moment, leviya, by last Purim, we did a video, a satire on the election, the Ido and feel the Burt. Okay, and he's kidding. He says about my dad, he's so old. He babysat for Avram and Sarah, or was that Adam and Chava? Anyway, although my dad passed away during the Torah portion Tetzaveh, the Parsha Tetzaveh, when the Shabbos just before the Purim holiday, I chose to cite Parsha Vayikra and sang over Hesped, the leviya of my dad, and you'll understand why. Rav Shimshon Rafi Hirsch in the New Hirsch Chumash renders translation of Parsha Vayikra's opening pasuk, and he called to Moshe, and Hashem spoke to him from the tent from the Mishkan. Okay, the May Oel Moed, saying, and Rebbitzin smiles, cites from her Sefer Torah tapestries, both Rashi and Rabbi Shimshon David Pinchas, regarding one's name as a background for Hashem's expression of Vayikra, Hashem's gentle, loving calls to Moshe for private meetings. The opening phrase, Vayikra El Moshe, teaches us that Hashem called to Moshe by his name. Rashi explains that the aleph at the end of the word Vayikra comes to emphasize how Hashem spoke lovingly to Moshe. Rav Shimshon David Pinchas elaborates on the idea that calling someone by name is an expression of love. The giving of a name does not stem from a general parental love. Rather, it's an expression of personal, individual love. Each child in a family is unique and is granted a specific name, exclusive to him. Every son and daughter is individually loved for the distinctive qualities he or she embodies. We're told how Hashem Kaviyokol would call gently, affectionately, Moshe, Moshe, in a voice for only Moshe to hear. And Moshe would respond, "Here I am." Moshe, always shirking honor, kavod, special treatment, perception of special treatment, fought tooth to nail that this first word of our pasha, the word which would come to typify Hashem's greeting when he wanted to speak privately with him, would be vayikar. Moshe sought not to be perceived by Am Yisrael for all time as receiving honor, kavod, and special treatment by Hashem. Tells much about Moshe Rabbeinu's level of principle, integrity, and his standard of leadership of Bnei Israel. Of course, Hashem's wish for Vayikra carried the day, although he made concessions. He made the concession of a small olive. Rashi's understanding of dialogue speaks volumes about the darchim, the ways of humility, modesty, selflessness of Moshe Rabbeinu, his dedication to Hashem and to the people he leads, the Bnei Israel. But let kindness and humility not be confused with weakness, for we learn Moshe Rabbeinu was a strong yet just leader. The Lashon Vayakar is later used when Hashem happened to meet the evil Bilam. This is a Rashi on Sefer Vayikra, Paragraph 1, Pasuk 1. And it refers to Parsha Balak. Hashem's communication with the haughty Bilam can be likened to the theme of an old American TV series, Moonlighting. Okay? Strangers who just met along the way. The Sefer Majesty of Man by Ehanach Leibowitz, Rabbi Ehanach Leibowitz, writes on our parsha, citing Rabbeinu Yonah's explanation of the cause of haughtiness. Through this, the understanding of the cause of haughtiness, we can better understand its converse humility. Often a person feels himself lacking in knowledge on a certain quality. To compensate for this inferiority complex, small as it may be, he denigrates his peers to make himself seem better in his own eyes. This process may take place exclusively on a subconscious level, or may be manifested outwardly. In other words, haughtiness, insolence, and pride are actually derived from the opposite feelings of inferiority, haughtiness, inferiority, insignificance, and shame. One who feels confident in himself has no need to denigrate others or to represent himself as something other than who he truly is. From Rabbeinu Yonah, we see the essence of humility is the realistic understanding of one's own worth. Moshe Rabbeinu was not only the greatest man of his time, but the greatest man of all time. Yet, Torah tells us he was the humblest man. This paradox existed within him because he knew his true value. He didn't underestimate himself, and therefore had no need to overestimate himself. We must realize that each one of us has a soul given to us directly from Hashem. Our potential for achievement is immeasurable. If we understand our potential as human beings, we can then feel self-confidence needing to be humble. In speaking about my dad, Meir HaKohen ben Shabtai, he was always kind, humble, straight up honest in his dealings with others in life, while never seeking, never chasing after honor, kavod, or self-aggrandizement. His focus was always on job, home, and family. My mother and myself, to the exclusion of almost everything else in outside those realms. At one point, and you'll see in the pictures I show later, at one point he was designated Man of the Year by the company for which he worked. The then publicly traded company, Mackey Company. I don't know if they're still in the same context or still publicly held in the vending field. In public, in the workplace, among his extended family, his parents, siblings, nephews, nieces, grandchildren, cousins, he was always jovial, jocular, always rhyming, as in illustration, change the name, Yonkala, don't you cry, you're going to be a big Yonkala by and by. You can pretty much catch on fast to what's going on when he says, I gotta see a man about a horse. My dad was a man of few words, not involving himself in verbal over-analysis of things, of crises, of issues. At home, my mother was the more verbal one, the more dominant one in family affairs. In the home, or in dealing with extended family finances, dealing with my chinuch, nurturing, education, upbringing. But at any family simcha where he was dancing, he owned the dance floor. Any dance floor he was on, he owned that dance floor. I mean, graceful, the likes of a Fred Astaire, a Gene Kelly, from the Charleston to the Jitterbug to the Twist to the Zatzka. You assume the catcher's position, kick one leg out and then the other, Kazatzka. Okay, you want people in my age area probably know what the Kazatzka is. He did it all on the dance floor and always joked and kidded with relatives. My dad was also very handy with his hands and was able to make repairs and innovate around the house. In his retirement years, as my parents lived in their condo that they had in Century Village near Fort Lauderdale, my dad occupied himself both with helping neighbors organize their living quarters, as well as being his building's representative on the condo's residence committee. Both my parents, and particularly my dad, were loved by all, whether it was in the Forest Trace assisted living facility where they first went to after the condo, or in their final residence, the Bridge assisted living facility, both in Florida. People at the Bridge all came to love my dad, and he loved them all tenfold. And I, who had visited once a year, these past three plus years, have felt the mutual love, care, and esteem which flowed between them and my dad. Okay, I mean, the last days, people were coming in and out of the room all day long to see him, to check on him. Aside from the assisted living nurse the hospice nurse that was on that particular shift. And all of them kept my dad going, such that in the almost 2 years since my mother passed, that he blossomed. You know, he came out. You know, he became more extroverted, more jovial with everybody. My Aunt Shirley, Uncle Stanley, and my Aunt Ruth, the latter two being Uncle Stanley and Aunt Ruth being brother and sister. My dad loved them all and loved seeing them, and intensely enjoyed being with them, you know, when they visited and talking about old family times. In a hesed about my dad, I can't not speak glowingly, you know, with immensely appreciative and thankful tears in my eyes for someone named Eric Whitecamp of Freedom Partners of South Florida. Okay, it was through him that my parents got to their final place at the bridge, which was just a wonderful place. Albeit my parents are not frum, you know, the place was not kosher, okay, but in terms of the care and attention that they gave to patients, to their clients, to the elderly residents, okay, and Eric was primarily responsible for that. He brought to our attention that my dad qualified for a U.S. Veterans pension, okay, which not too many people are aware of. Okay, he took care of my parents' finances. He wore the hat of a patient advocate. Okay, the tovas that he did for my parents over their last 3, 4, 5 years, I'm not sure which. Okay, meritorious. Okay, it was my dad's power of attorney to keep of my parents' financial affairs and much more. Author Yeshai Hasidah in the Yerushalmi Gemara cites the Yerushalmi Gemara Rachot, Parak 2 Pasuk 8 in the Sefer Encyclopedia of Jewish Biblical Personalities regarding Yitro, Moshe's father-in-law, the Midian priest, and former counselor to Pharaoh of Mitzrayim, who later became a Jew, Ger Tzedek, and in his merit and place among Bnei Israel. When Bnei Israel do Hashem's will, when Bnei Israel do Hashem's will, Kadosh Baruch Hu searches throughout the world, and if he finds a righteous person among the nations, he brings them and attaches them to Bnei Israel. One of the examples given, Yitro. In my view, this adage applies to individual Jews as well as to the nation, and that Hashem brought Eric to connection with my parents, with my dad, provides ample testimony, both with regard to Eric's immense kindnesses and to the great zehut gained by my dad, by both my parents, for their honesty, integrity, kindness, humility. May my dad, Meir and Shabtai HaKohen, go right to Shemayim, to heaven. Do not pass go, do not collect $200, go right to Shemayim. May he and my mother, Chaya Bat Zalman, both have an aliyah on Shemayim, have exalted places with Hashem in Shemayim, and may we be zochah to see the Mashiach, the Geula Shlema, as Dov Shurin sings, Kikarov Yom Hashem B'Chol HaGoyim Akshat Shichat Miyad Etmo. Now I'm going to speak about these 4 postal boards.